Dice Tower Tonight, episode 59.
The Two Towers.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, celebrated designer Rob Daviau joins us to talk about the challenges of updating a beloved tower-based game for a modern audience. Crystal has a challenge for us. We talk about some recent play sessions, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Barbara Walters to my Hugh Downs, Crystal Pisano.
Ooh, so we're doing some investigative reporting tonight, I imagine.
It's 2020, Crystal.
Oh, God. How did I not get that? I'll be the Barbara Wawa to you any day, Eric.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, before we get too far into our celebrated holiday discussion, we should bring in our guest because he has come prepared, complete with a fireside chat. So hang on one second. I'm going to take you out, Crystal, so that Rob gets to be in the middle. Hello, Rob.
Good evening. Sorry, that's not. I couldn't do that for very long. Hey.
And it's Rob Daviau, celebrated designer, and what is your official title at Restoration Games, Rob?
Chief Restoration Officer.
There you go.
Basically, I'm in charge with the product that goes out the door. But it's a small company, so we're all doing a little bit of everything.
Very cool. So how was your holidays, your New Year's celebration, Rob?
It was good. I played a game. I stayed up past 11, so these are all big milestones. I am a morning person. No, it was a good holiday. It was a good holiday, but I got together with both my brothers. The three of us haven't been together for Christmas since, I think we said 2003. We've been combinations of two, but not all three of us. Got to see my daughter, who just spent a semester abroad in Barcelona, and she's back in the States, so it was a nice recharge with family, and I'm ready for the 20s.
And we have a live fire behind you that we can hear popping and cracking. Hopefully you stay somewhat cool throughout the course of the broadcast.
I decided to light a fire and wear a sweater, so we'll see how this goes. I do have water nearby, so I should be
just
good.
In case you need to extinguish
it should be good. Well, no, I was thinking of myself passing out from dehydration, but I think we're going to be fine.
So, Crystal, why don't we talk about something you played recently and get this show going?
Absolutely. So recently, the Kickstarter for a roll and write game that I had been looking forward to shipped to me, and that is Roll and Write, the roll and write game.
Oh, no, don't let Sue see that.
You all know I love a good pun. And I was very much looking forward to Roll and Write, the roll and write game, which I just can't stop saying. So this is a pretty unique roll and write game in that most roll and write games utilize like a single color, either pen, pencil, marker. This roll and write game involves a total of 6 different colors that all of the players are utilizing. And you are filling in bits on a board trying to complete specific patterns on cards that you've been dealt or that you've drawn throughout the course of the game. So on a player's turn, they take the 6 dice, which all look a little bit like this. They all have just colored dots on one side or another. They roll all of them and then group them by color. And the active player gets to choose a single group of a single color to set aside, and all of the other players can use one of the other groups. So you're always only drawing a single color on your turn from the dice roll. You fill in those bits on your board, and then you can take an action. That action... Oh, this has been upside down the whole time. That's fun. Sorry. That's great. Looks the same, I'm sure. It's perfect. So you fill in the bits on your board. So for instance, if let's say the active player had rolled a bunch of dice, chosen a group, and then there was a yellow pip on one of the dice and I chose that, I can fill in this yellow bit right here. And if I did that, I will have completed this card that's in my hand. This will now go below my board, and I'll have the special ability that's on this card to use as an action in the future. The actions are on your cards and also on your board, and the way you use the actions on your board is by erasing bits from your board. So let's say after I completed this, I'm like, well, that one's done, so I don't need all these bits anymore. I could erase one of the others. So I could erase this red bit, and the red ability says copy and connect a bit. So then I can draw another bit of a different color next to something else it's next to. So let's say I needed more yellow for a different card, I could draw a yellow bit right there. All of the bit colors have different abilities, so you're kind of having to weigh completing the patterns that are on your cards and using the abilities to complete other patterns and then setting yourself up for future patterns. It's pretty interesting. I will admit, the first time I played this, I wasn't super keen on it. I played it again immediately the next day, though. And the reason I did that is because it did strike me as something unique and something interesting. I will say the markers work well. And I've only played it twice now, but they seem to be good quality. I don't think they're going to dry out anytime soon, but I am concerned about the fact that there are 6 different colored markers in this box. And if one of them were to dry out, I can no longer play the game. I would have to buy a colored marker. But again, so far the quality seems good, but obviously I can't speak to their longevity, but it is a concern I have. It came with erasers on all of the pins, and as well as some little like bonus erasers and whatnot. It is not my favorite roll and write game. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's a little fiddly. You have to pass the markers around if all the non-active players are using the same group. Like, oh, I'm using purple, you're using purple. You have to pass them around a little bit. There's 2 sides to the board. There's the 6x6 grid and the 7x7 grid. So there's a little variability in the length of the game. There's little other nuanced bits to it, but that's kind of the gist. I would say if you really like roll and write games, it's one to check out, but it's not one that I would say you need to go out of your way to play. I enjoy it, and I like most of the stuff that Chris Handy has done. You guys know I'm a big advocate for the Pack-O-Game games that he has designed. Love that stuff. This one, I'm not quite as big of a fan of, at least yet, but I'm still going to give it a few more chances. So that is Roll and Write, the dice game.
Very cool. Rob, have you played anything lately? I think you said you've gotten some gaming in recently.
Yeah, last night for New Year's Eve, I went to it was basically a game night that happened to be on New Year's Eve, so it was larger than usual. And I played my way through, I think, 2/3 of this game, which is the adventure games, the dungeon.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you played it, Phil Walker Harding, Matthew Dunstan. So same size box as the Exit game, same publisher. Little storybook, little dungeon adventure in a box. And the first act was pretty straightforward. You're putting cards down, you're making decisions. It has something clever. Do you remember you guys are probably both too young, but the very old Zork Infocom games?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're talking to the right people here.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you got rewarded for putting items together in interesting ways or utilizing your inventory. And it kind of picks up on that. The basic conceit is there's various rooms, and you unlock more of them as you explore the dungeon, and you unlock new stories, and it's very casual. Like, you can just take inventory from people even if you're not in the same space. Maybe we were playing it even more casual than it was supposed to be, but we were kind of treating it as just catching up with some wine and talking to people and playing this story game. You have hit points, you have a little bit of pressure. You're trying to get a score before you finish out an act. Each act takes about 45 minutes, I'd say. So you can basically either interact with the space in the room, at which point you open up a little chapter book and you read the chapter. And it might tell you to take a card and you get an item like a torch or a flashlight or a coin or a hook. Then later on, you can actually choose to just combine 2 cards. So if you had, I'm trying not to spoil it, which is why I'm not showing things. Yeah. Because you start out with no inventory. But if you had a coin, which was card 13, and you had a magnet, which was card 40, you would actually look up entry 1340. To see what happens if you try to put the coin and the magnet together. And it might say, oh, you created a magnet coin. That's not a real thing, but you get the idea. And it would say, return coin and magnet to the box and take the magnetic token. And now you have a new thing with a different number, and maybe you put that on a lock. So you interact with the locked door, which is 704, and now you have card 40. So you look up 4704, which is I'm using the magnetic token on a lock, and then it'll be like, oh, yeah, you open the door, put this dungeon room next to it, and, get rid of the magnetic token. It continued to surprise me in a good way. It's not a deep game, but it's just the sort of game that I like when I'm looking for something casual, which is a little story in a box. It's called The Dungeon, but it's not hardcore fantasy role-playing. I did the first room or two. I go, I get it. There's not going to be much more than this. And then it continued to surprise me. They would introduce new cards, new mechanisms, new little twists and turns, and I kind of enjoyed it. We only kind of stopped it because it was getting close to midnight and people wanted to go celebrate New Year's. Yeah. Meanwhile, my wife was at the next table playing Zolkin, and I noticed that we played pretty much the polar opposite of sort of the gaming experience. And it's pretty simple. It says when you finish an act, just take a picture of everything. Next time you want to play, just look at the pictures where everything was. Like, they don't have an elaborate save state, and I like the casual nature of it. So I don't know how many there are in the series, but I'll pick up more.
So far, I think there's 2. There's the dungeon one, and then there's another one that's the corporation or something like that.
Monochrome Inc.
That's it.
I have that here, but I have not played it yet.
That one has a much higher age limit, if I'm not mistaken. And I wasn't sure. I think it's just thematically, it has some subject matter that's not really good for kids. So I've been keeping the dungeon to play with my kids, but haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Yeah, that's 12 and up. There is nothing in that is not any worse than any animated film that you would find.
Very cool. So I went with my family to D.C. This past weekend. We went to see a show at the Kennedy Center, but whenever we go on our semi-regular pilgrimages to the District of Columbia, we visit the Labyrinth Games and Puzzles store, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Stop in whenever you're there. And we found this game I had never heard of, Cahoots, from GameRight. It's called the Cooperative Hint and Sync card game. There's actually 2 games that came out in 2018, both called Cahoots. One's from Mayday Games. It's sort of a trick-taking game. This one's a little different. This is a cooperative game. You've got a deck of cards numbered 1 through 7. Very nice, bold, strong colors. Pink, orange, purple, and green, from 1 to 7. And you'll have 4 piles of these in the center of the table, and then everybody's got a hand of 4 cards as well. And then you'll have 4 goals in the center of the table. So this one, sum of all cards is 20. Or 2 non-adjacent piles are pink. Your object is to get through the deck of these goal cards. And you can adjust the difficulty with like 12, 15, even 21 cards or something, depending on how crazy you want to get. And you want to get through all of the goals before your deck runs out. On your turn, you play 1 card to one of the piles using Uno rules, so same number or same color on one of the 4 piles, and then check to see if you've achieved any of the goals. If you have, you put that in the score pile and draw the next one. Maybe you luck out and you just draw into one of the goal cards. But the key is that you're not allowed to directly discuss what you have in your hand. So when they give examples about what you can say, stuff like, I can help with this goal, or don't play on that pile, which I think if you're very creative, you can be very specific, like, I can help with this goal if you don't play on that pile, which pretty much says what you have in your hand. But it is a family weight game. My kids enjoyed it. I played it at the New Year's Eve party we were at last night, and we enjoyed it. In fact, we couldn't win for several rounds and had to play it like 3 times in a row just to try and make it all work. It was a good time, and I had never heard of Cahoots before, and we were pleasantly surprised, purchased a copy at the store, and a hit with the family. That's Cahoots.
Very cool. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, I always wonder about games like that, which is it's a cooperative game and you have private information and you're allowed to sort of communicate it, but you can't say exactly what's in your hand, and a lot of the time the game turns into a different game, which is how to communicate what's in your hand. So given a family weight game, it's not a big deal, but it's
Right.
an always interesting as a designer when you go down that path of, well, how do I keep the game from not devolving into, I don't have a 40 or a 42, but between them I might have a card, right? You're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And trying to work your way around those rules is a little weird, but again, it's not meant to be terribly heavy. And the luck
Right.
of the draw plays a big part here too, because if you don't have the cards you need, you only have a hand of 4 cards. You can't do anything about that really.
Right. And people know when they're cheating. Basically what it comes down to is people will go, you can't do that. That's cheap.
And it's also a co-op, so
Yeah.
you can work within the comfort level of your team and what you want to do. All right, I feel like it's game time, Crystal. I can see you've been setting up.
I've been attempting to, do things a little more expediently and make sure that I have things set up in advance. So I am pretty much ready to go if you all are.
All right. I'm just going to leave it on your shot. You can hear me and Rob in the background, unless you really need to see our facial expressions.
I mean, obviously, seeing your all's beautiful faces is a plus, but I feel like the chat is going to want to see the wheel. So we are going to be playing a modified version of the new party game Wavelength that just came out not too long ago. For those of you who do not know what Wavelength is about, it is a team-based game, generally, where you are attempting to get your teammates on the same wavelength as you, in that you're going to be naming an item, and they are going to be placing this dial where they think that item falls on a particular spectrum. And the spectrum is going to be different every single time. So here, let me pull one as an example instead of one of the ones I actually have set up for the game. So for instance, if the spectrum was, hopefully this will show up well enough on camera, from expected to unexpected, and let's say the wheel was, okay. So if I said, Eric, if I asked you, if I named the Spanish Inquisition, where would that fall on the spectrum from expected to unexpected?
Well, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, so that would probably be, if we're looking at a clock, I would say at least 2 o'clock.
At least 2 o'clock. So we're thinking like down here, somewhere like that. Okay, so then I would reveal, and hey, look! Eric nailed it. So that was our practice question. But yes, of course, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. It's a Monty Python joke for those of you who aren't as nerdy as Eric and I in the chat. But now we're going to play for real. So I am going to move the wheel. Usually the wheel is randomized, and I will randomize it to some degree for some of these things, but I've also set some stuff up in advance.
Crystal stacked the deck on this one.
I mean, it's,
So
whatever.
Are Rob and I on the same team, Crystal?
Rob and you are not on the same team. So what's going to happen is I'm going to posit a thing to one of you, and the other is going to guess whether they think the correct answer, meaning the 4 spot on the wheel, is to the left or the right of where the other player placed the dial. Okay. The chat is going to be doing the same thing, and I have some straw polls set up to facilitate that I will be dropping in the chat. I'm actually going to put the first one in right now, but if y'all vote right now, you won't be able to do anything because you don't know what's coming. So our range for this first question is on a scale from not a sandwich to a sandwich.
Okay.
And this first one is going to Eric. So Eric, you're going to be guessing where on the spectrum ravioli falls. So you're going to tell me where to place the dial. On a scale from not a sandwich to a sandwich, where does ravioli fall? Based on what you think you know of me.
Okay, so, well, I mean, my gut says not a sandwich, but it is a filling in between 2 dough-like, bread-like layers. So it's not totally unheard of. Let's say I'm going to put it at 11 o'clock.
Oh, come on.
So you're just going to say, like, right here?
Yeah.
You can tell me to adjust in any way you want.
Like 2 notches to the right.
2 notches to the right?
There you go. That's it.
Okay. So now, Rob and chat, you are going to tell me whether you think the 4 part of the wedge is to the left or right of the dial. And chat, that link I dropped in the chat, you can vote now. Hopefully that will work. Let me know if you all are not able to get to that straw poll link, but it is in the chat from my username. So make sure you click through and actually vote. I haven't seen anything come through yet, assuming that I put the right link in the chat. Yes.
The reason I reacted that way is I thought, okay, 11 o'clock is where I'd go. So whichever side Eric goes on, I will pick that as the side. And then you said 11 o'clock, so.
So do you think the 4 part of the wedge is to the left or the right, Rob?
I'm going to go left. But this is a little blind guessing here. I'm just because I'm left-handed.
Okay, and I think people didn't see the link in the chat before. I've dropped it in there again, and hopefully that will work. Chat, let me know if you're able to get to that. Otherwise, I can see generally the chat is also saying left, so we will No link. Interesting. I wonder if it's blocking it. I should be able to drop chat links in the chat.
Yeah,
well, we're just gonna. Okay.
I'm not seeing it as
It might have to do with YouTube permission since I'm not signed in as the Dice Tower. It might not let me drop the link.
It's blocking the link.
Sorry, folks. I apologize for that. Well, you all are saying left. Rob has also said left. Let's reveal where the answer falls.
Ooh, and it's just slightly there, though.
And
you had her tick it up 2 clicks.
You were so close. I think it is on the line, but it is technically more on the 3 than the 4.
Oh.
So I'm gonna give you 3 points, Eric. So you're gonna get 3, and Rob and the chat were correct with their guess, so they're all gonna get 1.
I should have kept it where it was.
Keep track of your own points.
It also means Rob was right on the money too.
It really was. You all were spot on. All right. So our next one, assuming that I have my notes up. Here we go.
That's quite the sound.
The wheel moving. Yeah. I'm going to put the dial right back in the middle. Okay, Rob, this one's for you. This one might be a little bit harder. We're going to see, on a scale from short to long, where does a Lord of the Rings marathon fall?
I'm gonna put that at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. So that would be like
right
here?
No, a little more. A little more. 2 more.
More.
Right. I'm gonna say that the reason I picked it is compared to, say, the length of the universe. No, relatively short, but compared to other movie marathons, that's pretty long. So now I'm second guessing myself. I've given you a lot of wide open space there to the left. Click it back 3 to the left, please.
3 to the left.
There we go.
Okay. And then, Eric, if you don't mind, I'm actually going to send you the link in our Skype chat. And then if you want to put it in YouTube, I believe that you'll be able to do that. So that way, if people want to actually vote.
If I can manage to figure out where that is.
Otherwise, feel free to drop it in the actual chat. I just know you all like using straw polls. So I was trying to make it a little bit more interactive. So, Eric, do you think it's to the left or the right of where Rob has placed the dial?
So I'm thinking, I'm trying to juggle multiple windows here.
I know.
I think I got the straw poll link in there. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, it's in there.
So I agree with Rob in that compared to the length of the universe, there's a lot more. There's a lot more space there to the left. So I'm thinking farther to the left is where it should be. Lord of the Rings Marathon is long, but there are things that are longer. Like a year is longer.
It would be a very long list if we named everything that's longer than 9
right?
hours.
And that's where this game gets interesting. It's what was the person who
contextually, I was basing on other marathons, like Marvel Universe would be much longer.
Yep.
Right, the entire Doctor Who series would be longer. But so I was like, okay, compared to binging a lot of media, this seems about there.
But you're not just sticking to media. It could be.
I don't know.
Any number.
I don't know. I have no context.
Rob's not clearly. He's not inside my head.
But I'm showing my work.
So.
Okay.
All right. Well, the chat has voted and overwhelmingly thinks that it is to the right. So they are disagreeing with you, Eric.
And I clicked it back some. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. And the correct answer is to the left. So, Rob, I'm going to say that you're close enough that you're going to get 2 points. And then, so Eric, it was correct. So Eric's going to get 1 point, and the chat didn't get anything that time. Chat, what? Come on, there's so many things that are longer than a Lord of the Rings marathon. All right, moving on to the next one. So Eric, we're going to go back to you here. And we are going to be doing on a scale. Oh, I guess I should actually set the wheel up. Let's see here.
The context is Crystal's brain, says one.
And that's a weird context to have to deal with. All right. On a scale from dog name to cat name.
Oh, boy.
Where does Clarence fall?
Clarence.
I mean, come on, I gave Rob a hard one. I got to give you a hard one too, right?
Clarence. Okay. Gut says it's very close to the middle. But I'm going closer to dog. Let's say between 11 and 12.
Between 11 and 12. So, tell me when, is that like...
A little bit farther to the right.
A little bit farther to the right?
One more notch.
One more.
Yeah. And then
like right
I'm going to post the link. Yeah, right, I like that. I like that where that is.
All right. So, Rob, do you think, on a scale from dog name to cat name, that Clarence falls to the left of where Eric has set the dial or to the right?
I'm picking the right because it just has more space. This one is just a complete toss-up, so I'm playing the odds.
Okay, so Rob's picking to the right. I'm going to move over to the straw poll and see
Do we have clearance, Clarence?
Nice.
Roger.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you. When I met my husband, he had never seen Airplane before, and I fixed that like almost immediately.
Real fast.
Yeah. All right, so chat is still voting. It is not quite as definitive this time. I'm going to give it a few seconds to let more people vote. And the gap is even narrowing still, but it looks like, all right, chat is saying it is to the left. So chat is disagreeing with Rob. They're saying it's the smaller piece of the pie.
It's more dog-like.
More dog-like. Okay. More Clarence is more dog as far as the chat's concerned, and as far as I'm concerned as well.
Very nice.
All right, so that is 2 points for Eric and 1 point for chat. So chat now has 2 points. And then we're going to move back over to Rob for the next one.
All right.
Rob, I just noticed that your fire has gotten farther.
The fire is slowly dying. Yeah.
But my dear, we're still goodbying.
I would go 10 to it, but I'm in the middle of a riveting game show right now, and I think that would be rude. I'm also tethered with headphones to a laptop. It wouldn't be good.
Right.
We got the effect we were going for. Right?
It was a comedic entrance, and I think it did its job.
I would only move it slightly, but I don't want anybody to know where I've placed the thing, so we're going to have to... Yeah. Okay. So, Rob, on a scale of 4 kids to 4 adults...
Oh, boy.
Where do board games fall?
Come on. I'm spending New Year's night with 2 adults in a room full of 109 people watching. So am I in your head in deciding like this, or am I in the average public?
And that's what's interesting about this game is, am I doing it from just my own point of view, or am I trying to look at the world? And it could be any number of those things.
All right, I'm gonna stick the odds. I'm gonna say go to closer to kids, about like 10:30.
10:30.
Right.
So
now bring it up right about there.
There?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, obviously we're grown-ups who make a living at this in some sort of capacity or spend our free time doing it. So it's really hard to put it there, but I also know the sales numbers at Hasbro, having worked there.
Ah.
That is interesting insight for sure. Eric, I'm dropping a link in our Skype for you. I'm sorry I didn't do that sooner.
I got work to do. Hang on a second.
Someone in the YouTube chat said, if this is Crystal's head, about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. Maybe not 1 o'clock, but a few people in the chat saying straight down the middle. I totally understand Rob's perspective, though. Having worked in the mass market, he sees the sales numbers. But in Crystal's head, I think it's 12 o'clock. So I'm going to say right.
Crystal and I met 35 minutes ago.
Oh, did you?
I mean, we've technically met in person, but
we
only
have.
It's been in passing only. So this is the most substantial interaction you and I have ever had. All right. So Rob. Okay. So this is where Rob placed it. Eric, you said to the right.
Yes.
Okay, and the chat is overwhelmingly saying to the right as well.
I will go down with a ship alone.
All right, so let's see where I actually placed it.
Oh, not that far over, though.
Not that far. So that is 3 points for Rob. And because the wedge is to the right just a little bit, that's 1 point for Eric and 1 point for the chat. So I think that's 3 points for chat.
Right.
Chat, I know you're at a disadvantage here, but just you get brownie points. So
yeah,
it's
chat
fine.
doesn't get to have a turn.
Yep. Okay, so we're moving on to the very last one. No, not next to last. We have 2 more. Are we okay on time? Yes, we're fine on time. All right, Eric, this one is going to be for you. I'm going to drop a link in the chat now.
Oh, boy.
All right, on a scale from... Might help if I actually had it set up. Okay. On a scale from hard to do to easy to do.
Uh-oh.
Where does smiling fall?
Ooh. Smiling. I mean, it is an easy thing to do, right? But what if you're having a bad day? Then it's not that easy to do. So, okay. I think it's pretty far to the left. Wait. Easy to do is the right. So I want pretty far to the right.
To do, easy to do.
Let's go firmly in the 2 o'clock position.
Firmly in 2 o'clock. From this angle, is that about right, or is that too far?
Let's go like 4 notches. Okay, that 2 notches farther.
1, 2. One more?
That's good. I'm good.
That's good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so, yep, people are already voting in the straw poll. Rob, do you think smiling is harder to do than where Eric has placed it, or easier to do?
I think it's easier to do.
You think it's easier? So you're going right?
I'm going right. It's hard to do on command and make it look natural, but basically people smile without meaning to all the time. Look at you. See, Eric's doing it right now. It just happened. And I'm doing it, right? It's just when you're like, okay, smile for the camera. But I think it's easy to do.
Well, so far the chat is split 50-50 in the straw poll. So I'm going to give it a few seconds and see. Oh, it's bouncing back and forth. Chat is conflicted here.
Remember, this is Crystal's brain, says the chat. Go right.
That's what I love about this game is like, what was the person who said the thing thinking when they said it? And it looks like we've settled out. The chat is agreeing that it is to the right of the dial. So Rob says right, chat says right. And it is to the left.
Just a bit.
But just barely. Just barely. All right, so Eric gets 3 points.
I think that was right. I think our score markers are getting confused. But that's fine.
Maybe.
We had a tie.
No, you moved mine, but it's fine.
Okay. Here, we'll do that then. Ta-da! Perfect. You win.
That's a win, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a win. And that's great because we're moving on to our very last one here. And Rob, this is a very special one for you. Do this.
She's been very excited about this one, Rob.
It's not that exciting. It's not that exciting. All right, on a scale from bad investment to good investment, where does Return to Dark Tower fall?
There we go. That's a lead-in. I will have a lot more data in 2 weeks. I'm going to say, why don't you put that over at right at 2 o'clock? We'll say it's a good investment. We'll say it's a good investment.
All right.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and stop right about there. I'd pin it all the way, but I live in New England, and so it's winter, and you can only muster up so much optimism.
Totally understandable. All right, chat. I think I gave Eric the link. Did I give you a new one, Eric?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. I just posted it up there. Now I have to be the one that says, "Oh no, Rob is totally
that's a
wrong."
bad investment. Yeah, go ahead. I set you up to make me look bad. See?
I know.
Here's what's interesting. Is Rob looking at it from the point of view of himself as the person making the game, or from the consumer who will be purchasing the game too? There's a lot of different nuance here.
I mean, solely from the definition, the textbook definition of investment, I mean, are you planning to sell it for a higher amount than what you paid for it?
I mean, look at this thing.
I mean, look at this product that we're...
Oh, they can't see it right now on the screen.
I just put it up there.
Okay,
what
nice.
a lovely Vanna White impression we've got. Just purely on a definitional standpoint, I'm going to say it should be to the left.
You're going to say left?
Just because it's going to be... I want to keep it, you know? I'm not going to sell it.
No shame in that. A lot of open space there.
All right, well, the chat is still voting, and it is pretty split right now. So if you haven't voted yet, chat, and you want to get your opinion in, you've got a few more seconds. And then as soon as this game finishes, we're going to be actually showing off that tower and talking about it, which I'm pretty excited about. And we are split 50-50. Chat! Oh, it switched. It switched. All right, chat, I'm going to 5.
The stock market right here.
Oh.
All right, it has settled. I'm calling it. It's with a very small margin. Chat is also saying left.
Okay.
Let's see where I put it based on the fact that I have played Return to Dark Tower recently.
This review via
There we
Wavelength.
go.
There you
Hey!
go. All right.
It is to the right. Rob did not tell me to do this or ask me. It was all me.
No, I was like, if that was all the way to the left, I'd be like, well, that was a long way to go to get me. I'll be like, I hated this game.
Oh, gosh.
That would have been quite the gotcha, wouldn't it?
It
It would have been interesting.
That's literally like the opposite of who I am as a human being.
I was gambling on that.
No, I loved Return to Dark Tower, and I'm very excited for us to discuss it with you now, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Here we go.
So, Rob, the only interaction I had with the original Dark Tower, which came out, 1980s? Is that
1981.
81. My older cousin had a copy in his closet, and he would never let us play it. It was just up there. It had to live up in the closet. We couldn't play it unless he was there. And finally, one night, he let us play it, and he guided us through an adventure. But it's all hazy memories. So how do you take everybody's hazy memories of this classic game, this Grail game, and turn it into a modern product, Return to Dark Tower?
Well, it takes about 3 years. It takes about a team of probably 12 or 14 people, if you look at the engineers and electronic people. But it's an interesting game. It came out in 1981. It was an adventure game. It was the same adventure every time. Travel around 3 kingdoms, get 3 keys, come back, go into the tower, beat up the bad guys. This tower, not this one, this is our tower. The tower in the middle at the time was an electronic marvel. It kept track of your warriors and your food. It knew which keys you had. It knew which kingdom you were in. It would randomly generate events. It would handle combat, and you would touch buttons, and there were sort of these rotating drums like a slideshow that would go around and light up different things. It was amazing. Wouldn't be so amazing right now to do that. So we had to figure out a way to keep the tower in the middle, because the tower is important, while at the same time getting the brains of an app. And so the first thought is, just put your phone in the tower. You're not going to take the tower out of the box. It's just going to be in the way. You're just going to pass the phone around, and then you're not playing Dark Tower. So it took us a while, but we figured out you need a tower in the middle, which is mechanical. I'll turn it on in a little bit. And it's got these 3 different drums in here, and these drums rotate, and they light up. And when the game starts, there are doors over them, seals. And when you play the game, you will drop skulls in the top, and they may get trapped behind the doors, or they may go all the way to the bottom where there's not a door and spill into your kingdom, causing problems. They go on your buildings, and they make it hard for you to gather resources that you need, warriors and gear and treasure. On some of the doors are these glyphs, which are hard to see, but they just basically will drain your spirit when you try to do certain actions. So you've got this tower, but you still want the game to know what's going on to some extent. You still want the game to be guiding things. So the tower is equipped with Bluetooth, which is talking to the phone. And at the top of the tower is a little IR beam, the type of thing that when you break it, the door opens or something. So it's pretty cool. You take a turn, you've got this big tower in the middle of the board, you've got buildings, you've got your heroes, there's monsters on the board, you're trying to deal with things. You say, okay, I'm done. And you drop a skull into the tower. The tower makes a noise. It lights up briefly. and then it tells the phone, and then the phone's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to take a turn. And then it starts moving monsters. It doesn't do it every turn. That's the thing. It's sort of does these different events as you play. But overall, we tried to keep the feel of the original, where there are 4 kingdoms, and you start out and you're going on a quest, and your goal is to save the world. Now, the original game was competitive. One of the first things Isaac Childress said was, let's make it cooperative. The tower is way too powerful for just one person. So we turned it into a cooperative game. It's working out really well. I know some people would like a competitive game. We're always looking at ways to expand it. There's nothing official on that right now. It's a tough puzzle to solve, even cooperatively. We've been playing it at BGG Con. We've been playing at PAX Unplugged. Everyone was losing. You have 6 game months to basically find a way into the tower and fight the main bad guy, the adversary. Everyone was losing in month 3 or 4. So the design team sat down and we won in 4 months, like sort of chatting. So it is possible to win, but I like it's a game that's not that hard to learn how to play, but it's hard to optimize. Unlike the original, which always had one quest, this has a couple thousand different combinations. We still have to work it out. You start out at the beginning, and there's these allies, these NPCs in the kingdom, and you pick one of them, and they have a way to get into the tower. It's always like you got to get into the tower or flush the bad guy out. So you might go to a genie. It's like, oh, bring me these 5 treasures from this ancient king, and I'll create a spell, and this spell will drive the adversary out. And then someone else, nearest the horse lord, would say, we're going to cut off the supply wagons that are feeding the tower, and then without supplies, they'll be forced to come and deal on our own terms. And, you've got all these different quests of what you're doing. Meanwhile, you've got a different adversary in the tower, so you pick who the bad guy is. So it might be, right now we're playing with the Bane of Omens, who's a master assassin, and he's sending assassins after you. There's someone else who wants to bring eternal winter. There's someone else who wants to spread plague across the land. So you pick A, you pick B, and then the game generates 5 random monsters of different levels out of a pool of about 16. So you put those combinations together, plus where the monsters spawn, and a few variables, and you get about 10,000 different quests to get into the tower. Although it is possible to basically pick the exact one you had last time. Like, oh, we were so close, let's try that one again. Or you can just tell the tower, give me a random one. All right, we haven't seen this one before. And so you have your quest, you have 6 game months to do it. Each game month's about 8 player turns. You have about 48 turns to complete the main goal and then defeat the bad guy. And it's a combination of keeping skulls from polluting the world, getting the right items, the right virtues to level up, the right treasures. There's monthly quests. Your allies like, oh, hey, I'm going to help out. Remember I told you to get all these treasures? If you go talk to these smugglers, and then you can get like a virtue that will help you find treasures and dig through the treasure deck faster. But the smugglers are like, we'll only do it if you kill all the brigands. So you're like, okay, we got to kill 3 brigands, then we got to go back to these people. But we got 8 game turns to do it. But meanwhile, let's not lose track of what else we're doing. And on your turn, it's pretty straightforward. Your character gets like something cool they do at the beginning of the turn that's up to them. Then you can move around the board. And while you're moving, you can do one cool thing and you can get one cool thing. So do I want to get warriors? Do I want to get a treasure? Do I want to get a potion? Do I want to level up? And what do I want to do? Remove a monster, complete part of the quest, or get rid of some skulls on the board. Those are pretty much your only main choices, and you kind of know about 90% how to play right now, and you're off and running. And the app guides combat, because it did in the original game, keeps track of the quests. And like I said, it interrupts you when you take some turns. It doesn't really interrupt. After you take some turns, like, oh, move the brigands, spawn some new brigands, the assassins come out and they're attacking, this person. And what's neat is as you complete or fail to complete certain quests, it puts things into the event list. So the master assassin might have a quest where he's hatching widow-made assassins, which are assassin spiders, because what's better than assassins and spiders? Assassin spiders. So he's hatching some nests. You don't have to go do the quest to stop them. That's fine, except next month or 2 months later when all of a sudden there's spiders spawning all over the board because you forgot to deal with it. So there's a lot of different challenges that you have to deal with. You can recruit companions to your side. Not only does it give you a power, like you can recruit this wizard, this Magus, Bharat the Magus, and he's just like with one of the characters, and every once in a while he'll drop the skull and Bharat will go, oh, hey, by the way, I just cast a spell. Do you want me to kill a monster? You're like, oh, thank you very much. So like you get these ability to do things. That's the long and short of it. It's got a pretty neat combat system, but given the time, I don't want to dig down too much, but it's a digital combat system, which allows us to add cards in and take cards out and change the board. So you might fail a quest, and now all undead are tougher, which is the equivalent of taking out a deck of 52 cards and putting in a different one, which you couldn't do in a physical space, but you can do in a digital space. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's Return to Dark Tower, the very micro pitch.
Yeah, Eric and I actually got to play this together at PAX Unplugged, and I will say that compared to other fantasy-style adventure board games, this one feels more cinematic than most of the games that I've played because of the way the app and tower are controlling things. The unpredictability, it's almost like, the one aspect of Robinson Crusoe that everyone kind of likes, that whole, things can come back to bite you later. Like, that is incorporated in this, but in a much grander and bigger way. And while it is cooperative, it feels like it won't suffer from the same problems that a lot of cooperative games have. Like, yes, technically one player could tell everyone else what to do, but because you have that tower in the middle, it almost makes it so if you're in one part of the world and somebody else is on the other side of the board, it does kind of feel like you're a little more removed from them and you can't quite see what's going on as well. And I liked that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a big board. And like you said, this kind of blocks line of sight. I was playing it this morning with people. One of the expansions we have for the Kickstarter is sort of an advanced game called the Alliance version, which brings in guilds that you can try to influence to help you. And then there's petty nobles who are popping up in the events where you guys don't mind if we close all the bazaars down for a month to do some private shopping, and you have to spend some resource to get them not to do that. And I would just look across the table everything good down there in the south? And they're like, we're good. We got a monster, but I'm dealing with okay, cool. I mean, you do move all over the board, but you're sort of looking at your kingdom. And what we wanted is for you to end up hating this thing because the drums rotate around. So there are skulls that might be trapped behind this door, but there's a door here. On this side, the door is off, and this drum can rotate around and sort of deposit 2, 3, 4 skulls at the same time. And I was so happy this morning when my friend flipped off the tower when it was rotating. We did it. We did it. You know that I programmed everything in here to do this at this time, but you're flipping off the tower, not me. We did it, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is that tension when because at the end of your turn, you have to drop a skull into the top of the tower. That's how you end your turn. And you don't want to, because that can trigger the tower doing something. And one of the nasty things, you mentioned the glyphs. If a particular action glyph is pointing at you and you still do that action, now you have to drop 2 skulls in the tower.
We actually tweaked that because it was too painful.
Oh, okay. So now
it was too painful. Yeah. It was a guaranteed loss if you did that a few times. And so we balanced it. You just have to pay spirit, which is one of the resources to do it. But spirit is what you use to level up and get treasures and do different things. So now it's okay, do I want to battle? Because it's going to cost me a spirit, and then I won't be able to buy that treasure later on the turn because I'll be 1 spirit short. But if I don't kill that monster, we played it, at the very end of PAX Unplugged. We're that is way too tough. If you thought that was too tough, you were right.
It was not something I wanted to do. See, even dropping 1 skull in the tower is there's that, is it going to do something? And our game master would go, nope, the tower is quiet. And we all go, oh, yeah. Good.
All right, well, Rob, did you want to show off any of the things that the tower can do? We have about 10 minutes left. Chat, we are going to try and get to some of your questions as well, but we do have a hard stop because at 7 p.m., Mandy and Suzanne are doing their Apptastic show. So you're going to want to stick around for that. Just as a heads up, we've got about 10 minutes left, chat.
So right now it's going. Yeah, I powered up. It's just going through its diagnostics so you can see how the drums rotate. Now, this doesn't always show up that well on camera, but once it's done, makes a noise, and now you can see it's got all of the different LEDs that are lit up. There's these dark altars right here. As you play the game, you can put skulls here to weaken the adversary who's inside. You've got these LEDs at the bottom that will basically pulse and let you know how close you're getting to the end of the month. And then there's each door has an LED, which are normally off. But when the tower tells you to remove a door, there's this light and sound show, and then one of them will start blinking, and you're I don't want to take it off. It's on my tower. And then you can see those are the glyphs that we were talking about. They're pulsing right now, so they're hard to see. But these are the things that like, oh no, you can't, if you take that action, you have to pay a cost. And that will just be like staring at you and sort of blinking as the game goes on. So the game will go on and it'll start with all 12 of these doors covering it. And then by about month 5, they'll all be removed. So you put a skull in, it's just going to come right out. There's no avoiding it. There's glyphs all over the place. It's a big game. Like to set it all up and run it with the phone and do things and stuff would be too difficult to do right here. I'm happy to take questions if people have specific questions about the game. The Kickstarter, I should say, is January 14th, so it was 2 weeks from yesterday.
And if folks go to the website and sign up to be notified when the Kickstarter goes live, they get something pretty cool, don't they?
Yes, if you go to Restoration Games and you're like, just tell me when it goes live, like no commitment, and later on you buy it, we're giving out a metal coin, which is just the current player coin, right? So it doesn't change the game. So if you miss out on it, you're not missing anything big, but it's just this nice little commemorative Dark Tower coin. It's our way of saying, hey, thanks for being involved early to, be there when it starts.
So really early in the episode, somebody dropped a question in the chat that I wanted to go back to. Columbotron19 asked, is there anything you learned from Fireball Island that helped you develop Dark Tower?
Yeah, when we were doing Fireball Island, we said, let's not do anything that hard again. So no, I didn't learn that lesson. They're very different. I mean, Fireball Island, we tried to do digitally, and we couldn't. We eventually had to go back and make a clay island and sort of roll marbles down clay and sculpt it. This we knew right away that it would be digital. I almost have to use two hands. This is a one-of-a-kind 3D printed prototype with all of the gears and everything hand set. So for a long time, we had to use a virtual tower, like a year, to test the gameplay. Like on the app, it would be like, and I drop a skull, and it would show you like which kingdom it came out. And the concern was that when we get the real tower, it wouldn't be as cool, but it was actually a lot cooler. I think what I've learned personally is how to handle larger teams. As I said earlier, there are like 5 designers on this right now. Designers or developers. There's Isaac and myself and Justin from Restoration, and then Noah Cohen and Brian Neffer are 2 developers. They've helped me on a number of projects like Betrayal Legacy, and Brian helped me on Death May Die with some of the episodes. We think story the same way. We've got electronics engineer, plastics engineer, a whole team in Iceland, a programming team. We've got a UX person over in England as well, plus the rest of the Restoration team, illustrator coming out of Indonesia. What I learned from Fireball Island is just make sure everyone's talking to each other, right? You don't want to get the tower and it's like, that doesn't fit in the box. So it's been a different role for me. I've been very hands-on with design. I'm writing a lot of stuff and doing, but I have to spend about half my time on this doing sort of creative directing, project management. I leveled up into management by mistake. And so I learned with Fireball Island a little how to do that. So hopefully the game will fit in the box, and ship on time.
Rob, what's the battery situation on the tower? Is it rechargeable? Do you put in D batteries, C batteries?
No, you put in 3 AA batteries right
now. Oh, nice.
You should be able to get 10 to 20 hours out of the batteries. We haven't, a lot of the stuff that comes into manufacturing, we have checked off, but we haven't done it yet, which is you power up the tower, it should check the batteries and be like, we think you're not going to make it through the game. You may want to change these now if it detects less than like 2.5 hours of battery. If you can use rechargeable AA batteries in there as well. You do need a phone. The phone, Android or iPhone, you'll download the Dark Tower app. Really straightforward how to pair it with the Bluetooth. Even the clunky sort of working app that we have now, I can handle. It's no D-cell batteries. We could have done it to be retro cool, but that seemed a bit cruel to the environment, to people's pocketbook.
Yeah, AA's are a little bit more ubiquitous nowadays, so That's perfect. Well, it looks like people in the chat are definitely excited.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Yes, it is Volkar's daddy. Thank you very much. Someone said, how much does it cost for all in? So this is not a $20 game. It's funny, if you scaled up the original game for today's dollars, it would be about $175, like in 1981. Like it was, I think, $80 or $90, which is $175.
Wow.
Ours is not that, but retail in stores, this will be about $150, which comes with the tower, a giant game board, the buildings, the figures, the miniatures, everything you need to play. It's $125 on the Kickstarter is the number we're looking at right now. This may change a little bit as we're buttoning up things. But there's going to be an all-in where you get this and the expansion package. And the base game comes with the heroes and 16 buildings that are plastic, just like the original game. But then the monsters, I think there's 70 monsters, not 70 types. There's multiple brigands and multiple wolves and stuff like that. There's 70 figures, and we just couldn't get that in the tower into the game, but we have a miniatures pack. So we're going to be doing the expansion, the miniatures pack, the game, maybe one other thing we had to check for 200. 200 is what we're looking at for our all-in, and there's a couple other things you can buy a la carte. But if you do the $200 one, you'll get the main game, you'll get just a giant box full of plastics, and you will get 2 more characters, and then a sort of an advanced game that brings in alliances and guilds and nobles, more treasures, more complicated, gameplay once you sort of master the base game.
I mean, honestly, especially with all the tech that you all have put into this, like the price seems very reasonable for what you all have done here. It is, and this is for me, I've played this, and I actually played it twice. I got to play it back when the physical tower didn't exist. I played it at Dice Tower Con in July when it was just controlled by the app by itself, simulating the tower, and then I played it at PAX Unplugged.
Changed a lot since then.
Oh yeah, no, I had to ask Justin a few questions. So I was like, is this still here? No. Is that still here? No. And all that it proves to me is you all have put a lot of time and effort and care into this project. And from my point of view, as a person who enjoys fantasy adventure style games and enjoys cooperative games, this is an easy get for me. Like, this is something that I have been preparing to get for myself because it is unlike any other game that fits in both of those genres, and that's a neat thing to encounter in board games.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, we put a lot of time into it, a lot of energy. I mean, hopefully that results in a good game. People who have played it and in their early reviews from Packs and Plugs have really liked it. I was doing a debugging thing that the app was acting quirky, and so I was testing it with friends at PAX Unplugged on Saturday night. Like, we got to the second month, I'm like, okay, I got everything I need. We're fine. I just need that before Sundays, and they refused to stop playing, and we finished at like 2 a.m. and I was like, guys, I got everything I need. Like, we are finishing this because we're going to be the first people to win. They didn't win, but they wanted to keep playing. I know it's a big price tag. It's a big game. There's a lot of stuff going in there. It's a cool game because it's got software. We're going to be making tweaks to the game and stuff as we go. We don't know exactly what that will mean rolling out, but it's nice to be able to sort of do built-in content and tweak it or update it if need be as the months and years go on. But it is a big game, and I was working on today, right before this, I was talking about some of the quests that we're still working on, and I'm still having fun with it. I wasn't having fun for a while in the middle, because that's what happens when you make games. Like, when none of it is working, then it started working and it got fun again.
Very cool.
I think we're going to have to call it a night, Rob. We appreciate you coming over and showing off your fireplace, but also talking about Return to Dark Tower and getting everybody super excited in the chat.
Yeah, I did get to talk about my recent play of Monopoly Tropical Tycoon, but I figured we could save that for some other time.
I'm sure we'll bring it up.
I'm so proud of that game. What I squeaked out with a.
I was very excited to find a copy, and yeah, I just recently got it played, and it was very enjoyable.
Well, thank you very much. Kickstarter's January 14th. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm sorry if we didn't get to more questions. Someone asked me about cooking. Someone asked me about Death May Die. I kind of saw them float by, but ask me on Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say, if people do want to get a hold of you, Twitter, is that the best place?
Yep. It's just at Rob Daviau. I'll spell it. It's a tough name. ROBDAVIAU.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Rob. Everyone, Return to Dark Tower hits Kickstarter on January 14th. Make sure you head over to returntodarktower.com or Restoration Games' website to sign up to be notified when the Kickstarter goes live, so you can get that cool first player or active player token, the coin that they're giving out if you sign up in advance. And thank you, Rob, for joining us tonight. You've been a wonderful guest. Until next time, I'm Crystal Pisano.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thanks for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Stay tuned for a new episode of Apptastic with Mandy and Suzanne, and Crystal and I will see you in just 1 week for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thanks. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me, with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike Delisio, Roy Kennedy, and Rob Searing. Kylo Ren picking up some extra cash by assisting disabled vehicles provided by Dark Tower. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
Bye,
everybody!
Happy New Year!